everyone. Welcome to the Yacht Talk podcast. Today I'm here with Chris Streeter and we're going to be talking about yacht refits. So, hi Chris, how
Hi.
are you?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today.
Pleasure.
So, first question I have for you, Chris, is would you mind telling us a little bit about your background? How did you get into the marine industry? How did you get into yacht refits? And how long have you been doing this?
Got into the marine industry around 1980 actually in New Zealand, where I'm from, I was in the waters. I was a first officer on a inter island ferry. I've been on the water all my life. Sailed from New Zealand to the United States on an 82-foot Don Brooks ketch.
Wow.
Managed to get on a small cruise ship out of Seattle in the 1980 and worked up from there into the larger cruise ships, finishing up on a 600-foot cruise ship in 2005 when I retired from the industry. In between rotations on the ship, I worked around the yachts. I had friends that had yachts, played with them, went through yard periods with them, and just took an interest in it. Figured after I got off the ships I wanted something else to do, and yachts just seemed like a logical next step. But all through the 90s in Fort Lauderdale, I dabbled with yachts, friends' yachts, various customers clients that I'd run into where I'd been asked to help them. I'd be off the ship for sometimes 90 days at a time. So.
Mm. And how did you build this company?
In 2012, I was working for a company in Tampa that was building a high-speed coastal patrol vessel for the Lebanese Armed Forces, and it was across the street from Lazer Yachts in Tampa. When I finished my contract with Naval Naval Special Projects, which was building the vessel, I returned back from Lebanon after in-country training and was looking for something else to do. And someone said, why don't you go across and talk to Lazera? So I did, and they hired me at the factory. And then I was at the factory till the factory closed in 2014. In August 2013, the factory sent me from Tampa to Fort Lauderdale to take over their service department, which is where we are now. When the factory closed, they basically left the office, and we had a viable business going here that was profitable, servicing Lazer Yachts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept the business open.
Wow.
And that's where we are today.
And how many Lazer yachts are still out there?
147.
Wow.
There hasn't been a single yacht lost from the total number manufacturing facility in Tampa. So there's still 147 yachts.
And what is the oldest one? What year?
The oldest one, I believe, is about 1996, maybe 95, 96.
Okay.
They're still out there.
So most of your clients are Lazer yacht clients, or do you have all kinds of yacht brands?
98% of my customers are Lazer yacht owners.
Mm.
We do work on other vessels. If someone comes to me and says, I've got a 100-foot boat that I want you to do a refit on, it's not Lazer, I'm not going to say, well, sorry, we're not going to work on it because it's not Lazer. A lot of the experience that we've gained from working on Lazer is we can move it across to other yachts. And so we have a couple of vessels right now that we're working on that are not Lazers. One of them's 120 foot. So yeah, it's just we do service other vessels.
Nice. But you're known as a Lazer expert?
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people that work for me worked in the factory in Lazer.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're all very, very familiar with the product that we service.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so next question, Chris. Could you explain to me what different kinds of refits are there?
The refit can be either interior, exterior, or a combination of both. Usually on an exterior refit, that usually includes a complete paint job on the vessel. Would involve basically primarily exterior work, underwater sections, painting the underwater side of the boat, and it stops there.
What about the teak? if it needs to be replaced. Is that
That
considered
would, that would be
exterior?
considered an exterior part of an exterior refit if so desired by the owner. Um, Teak is we don't replace teak very often. It is an extremely durable product for the most part, and it has a long lifespan.
Mm.
We've got vessels that are 20 years old and it still has the original teak on it. So
Because they are Lazaras.
that
That's
we
different
use
from
good
European
teak.
boats.
Yeah, they use
Yeah.
very high quality teak.
Yes.
And properly maintained, you'll get 15 to 20 years out of the teak.
Yeah.
Other vessels, different captains, different methods. We've got boats that are 2006 that need the teak to be replaced.
Europeans, right? That's what I've noticed.
Yeah,
They
just
can't handle the Florida sun.
well, no, it's not so much European. It's just the captains that have been on the boat have had different methods of maintaining the teak. They use a 2-part cleaner and they use it very strong, and it just eats the teak away. So, the way they apply the cleaner can have a lot to do with it. Going with the grain, that's just going to eat it out. You got to go across the grain. It's the only way to say it. But that's just But primarily, an exterior refit would be paintwork.
Okay.
Interior refit, that has about as much scope to it as building a boat, because it depends on the owner, how far you go. And so a combination refit would be interior and exterior.
Mm-hmm.
Interior can be everything in the interior, or certain items that the owner wants addressed. Primarily, an interior refit would combine overhead panels, wall panels, carpet, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, soft goods. It has an endless scope as to what can be done.
Yeah, electric, right? Also.
Not so much electric. No, electric is something that we usually don't end up having to do much in, unless the owner wants to change generators or something like that. And then it's a case of just adapting the new generator to the existing circuitry.
Okay, so that's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's not. I wouldn't class that as being it's not a major job. Getting it in is hard. Getting the old one out and the new one in is more involved than connections.
Yeah, sometimes you need to take out the doors, or how do you do?
On Lazares, we're lucky that when Dick was designing these boats, he had the forethought of, okay, to change a generator, we want to dismantle as little as possible. So we made the doors such that if we take off the door and leave the frame in place, with minimal amount of dismantling of the generator, we can get it out through the doors.
Okay, that's great.
Same with the main engines. We can dismantle a main engine and take it out the door of the boat. You don't have to cut a hole in the floor.
Oh, that saves a lot.
That
right?
saves a lot, yeah.
And other brands of yachts you've seen that are more complicated?
You're cutting a hole in the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to get it out without cutting a hole in the floor.
Yeah.
And it's a shame too. It just takes a little bit of planning to say, to be able to run a rail system to drag the engine out on its side, a short block, and take it off the boat that way, than having to cut a hole in the floor to get it out.
Yeah.
That's a major operation.
Interesting. So they should all learn from Lazaro.
Some of them do. I wouldn't say Lazaro is the trailblazer, but some manufacturers could plan a little better for after the sales service of something as critical as an engine.
Okay, nice. So next question. When do owners usually perform a refit? When they are selling, after they have purchased, or after they have owned for a long time?
All of the above. There's no wrong time to do a refit. If the boat needs a refit, it'll depend on the owners. A lot of owners buy a boat knowing they're going to refit it because they love the boat, but there's things inside that they just want to change. Other owners have had the boat for a few years and things are starting to look old and worn, and they've no plan on selling the boat, but they want to renew the interior of the boat. We call it a lifetime extension. They want the boat to look new again, or as new as they can possibly make it for their budget, so that they have that pride back in the boat again, and new coat of paint, and it looks good sitting at the dock instead of going, oh, that's not my boat. You know, I hope nobody sees them getting on it. Other boats, if they've been let go, the owner may decide, okay, I don't want, I want to sell it, but in the condition it's in, it's not going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be sitting on this thing for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they elect, you know, to make the boat look more presentable to a prospective buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your boat looks like it should have been retired, someone's not going to buy it and take pride in it. You know.
Of course. So do they just take care of the aesthetic things that need to be taken care of, or the most like the most basic to get it sold, and then the next owner will finish up whatever work
Both.
needs to be done?
That's a train of thought that both owners will what's the word? They will do both.
Some will do only the aesthetic part, and some will do functional part. They perform. Some people only do the aesthetic part, and some people do both aesthetic and functional refits.
Yeah, they would do it all. It's all the owner's discretion. Some may feel they need to do both in order to make their vessel more appealing to more potential buyers. Others are like, just do what I need to do to make it look decent, and then it can be the other guy's problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a combination of both. There's no one flavor that fits all.
Yeah.
Just depends on how far the owner of the boat's prepared to go to sell his boat.
Yes, because some boats that have like some big issues are very hard to sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in
Correct.
those cases, it is important to invest the money on fixing them. To get
Yeah,
them
you've either
sold.
got to spend the money to fix the issue, or tell the guy that's looking at buying the boat, here's the issue it's got, and price it accordingly.
Yes.
To allow the guy that's buying the boat the money to fix the issue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, next question. How long would a refit normally take, and what are some of the things that could delay it?
How long does a refit take? That is again up to the owner as to what the extent he wants to get into the project. Traditionally, if you let's say for example 100-foot motor yacht,
Mm-hmm.
paint job, or you usually allow about 90 days to paint the boat. Delays on that usually are weather related.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime is the worst time of year to paint a boat because of the humidity, especially if you're not inside a shed.
Uh-huh.
You have weather related issues. The birds pick at the tent and poke holes in it, and that can cause water to get in. But that's only one of the problems. Wind, anything like that. Weather delays are common if you're painting outside in a tent.
And especially in the summer, right?
Especially in the summertime. Wintertime, the humidity's better and lower. So long as you're not trying to paint on cold days, because you've got to wait for the temperature to come up a bit for the right chemical reactions with the paint that you use. You can't paint when it's 50 degrees outside.
Okay.
You know, the end result won't be that good.
Okay.
Outside of paint, and weather delays with paint, interior, if you're doing engines, that can be a big delay if you've got back-ordered parts. Or you open the engine up and you find, wow, that crankshaft's below tolerance, below spec. Well, now you've got to get a new crankshaft. Most boats today have exotic engines, DDAC MTU engines, stuff like that. Some parts are readily available, others not so available. We are going through that right now with the vessel that we've just done a big refit on, and engine delays was substantial
Mm.
just because of manifolds. They're in Germany, and Germany just releases them when they feel like it.
Oh.
It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to release them to us. There's usually
Wow.
30 to 60 days. Sometimes you can be delayed just on engine parts. Just depends on availability.
Wow, that's crazy. I thought that pretty much all the engines were like MTU or CAD, no, and the parts are pretty much available everywhere.
Even Caterpillar has sometimes delays on large engine components. They're not, because they don't have a fast turnover. Like a crankshaft, for example, you don't normally have to replace a crankshaft.
Mm.
So they don't keep all piles of crankshafts sitting in their shelves. If it's not a fast moving item, you might have to wait for a month to get one while they get one machine from a blank or something. So there's just no way to know. Other delays are from once you start dismantling something to either give it a lifetime extension or to replace it, you find other issues. Those other issues then can end way downstream from something totally unrelated, but we've had it before. We had a problem here, but the problem started way up here. So now we've had to dismantle a whole other section of the boat. We had no intention of dismantling. So, yeah, our paint is 90 days. Everything else after that is totally up in the air. It's just too hard to say how long it's going to take. You have a scope of work. Usually after we come out of a paint job, we say between 45 to 60 days after the paint job to accomplish the work in the interior. There's a lot of things you can do while the boat's being painted, but you're best to not be inside the boat while that's going on. It only creates issues for the painters.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand. And what are some issues that could come up that would take a long time? For example, plumbing or something in the hull, or what kind of issues do
You
you
can
find?
run into issues in the hull, yeah. If your boat's surveyed and you find that there's moisture in a hull. Mainly this only occurs primarily in a cord hull. Lazeras happen to be cord hulls. You can get moisture in between in the core. Usually it's caused by some kind of catastrophic event to the hull, either grounding or a through hull that might have been leaking on the side of the vessel that wasn't decored properly. We've seldom had this happen. Let me say that first. We've very seldom run into a problem like that. It's usually something that got missed at the factory when the boat was being built. Traditionally, Lazeras, they wherever there's a penetration, the hull is decored and it's this solid glass put there to prevent just that from happening.
Okay.
But on other vessels, it does happen. You can get that problem, and that can cause delays. If it's a metal boat, if they do a sounding in the hull, they may find they've got it's got metal degradation or sacrifice going on, and the hull is thin where where its fuel tank is. Now they've got to clean the fuel tank and then degas it, and then cut a hole in the bottom and weld in a new patch. That can all delay a refit considerably,
Yeah.
by months even. But then when you start getting into having to repatch a hull, a metal hull.
Interesting. Okay. So, how much of the refit can be done in the water and how much out of the water?
These days, you can do the whole refit in the water if you don't need to paint the bottom of the boat.
Okay.
There are companies today that'll paint the boat in the water. It's not my first choice. I think I don't think it's a safe practice, painting a boat in the water. Not with chemicals that we use. I think no matter how good you try and protect the environment, I think stuff gets in the water. It's just inevitable. Doesn't matter how good you protect, I think stuff gets in the water. But if you paint the boat on the hard and then say, okay, as soon as it's done painting, we launch. The rest of the refit can be done on the water.
Okay.
But there are boats that are painted in the water and the refit done, or the whole refit done in the water.
And when a boat is out of the water, it increases the cost of the refit a lot, right? Like how much, for example,
not
a
really.
paint job in the water versus a paint job out of the water. How much difference would it be in the price?
It's not really that much of a difference because when the boat's in the water, you're still paying dockage for that boat. And when the boat's out of the water, you're paying dry storage. It's virtually the same thing. The cost to tint the boat is the cost to tint the boat. If the boat's in the water, you have an additional issue in that you have to put floating docks all the way around the boat for the scaffolding to sit on. That's an additional expense you don't have when you tint on the land.
Okay.
So
in the
there's
end,
not
it
really a
costs.
savings. No.
Okay.
Not really. It's not. I think having the boat out of the water allows you to now examine the bottom of the boat. It allows
Mm-hmm.
you to now paint the bottom of the boat. It allows you to do a lot of underwater work that you wouldn't be able to do if you painted the boat in the water.
Yeah.
You still got to haul it to paint the bottom. So you might as well do the whole thing at once.
Okay, great. So next question. Is there a better time of the year to get a refit?
Certain yards on the off season will give you a small discount on dry dockage if you do because it's the slow season. Um, but otherwise, no. It just depends on anybody that's contemplating a refit that doesn't so much involve a paint job. It's just when the vessel's free. Most people don't use their boat right after the between when Christmas and New Year's is over, especially if they have a family.
Mm-hmm.
They want the boat for if they're using the boat for summer and that in the Bahamas, after the kids go back to school, their next break is spring break. So you've got 3 months in there where they can have a refit done.
Okay.
Other families, they want their boat available for the summertime. Right after summer, they're not going to use their boat again until Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the other opportunity to do a refit.
Okay.
Other people don't use their boats during the summer. It's too hot down here. They want to stay up north and enjoy the summer up north. They have places on the lake or somewhere up north, so the boat doesn't get used much during the summertime.
Okay.
There's another opportunity. It depends on the individual owner and what his requirements are for the boat. Why he bought it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And when you talked about the off season for the boat yards, when is that?
Summertime.
The summer.
Mm-hmm. Most of the smaller boats, 150 foot and smaller, are away. They go to the Bahamas and stuff like that. All the big boats are in the Med.
Mm.
So that's their significant. That's traditionally their slow season.
Mm-hmm.
The boats come back from the Med in September, October, and they all want the work done to get ready for the Caribbean season.
Yeah.
And so that's a busy time for some yards. But it's also a time when a lot of smaller boat owners aren't using their boats. They're not going to the Med, but they want them for the summer, for Christmas, in the Bahamas.
Okay. Okay, cool. Now, where are the best places to perform big jobs such as a refit?
Paint job is would be you need to be at a shipyard.
Mm-hmm.
I use the term shipyard loosely because they're not really shipyards. A shipyard would be in my background where you take a ship.
Mm-hmm.
These are boat yards. You need to paint in a boat yard. They're the only places where EPA will allow you to do it. You can't paint your boat at your dock. You're going to have your neighbors pretty irate.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just an interior refit and you've got a dock at your house or wherever you keep your boat, do it there.
Okay.
But you need to go to a boat yard to do the paint job or any other work like that.
Okay, interesting. So it will save you money, right? If you can do it at your own dock.
Yeah, once you've got the vessel painted, there's no need to keep it at a boat yard. No need at all. Take it back to your dock, and if you've got some parking, and that can be a problem, especially here in Florida with certain docks, certain streets. If you've got 5 or 6 vendors working on your boat, you're going to upset your neighbors if everybody's parking on the street. So.
Yeah.
That's always something to take into consideration when you're doing a refit is, can I do it at my house? Are my neighbors gonna not like me afterwards because of all the parking and that? Or do I have really good neighbors? I don't mind, talk to them first. Hey, look, I'm gonna be doing this. Do you mind if they park in front of your property here on the street?
Mm-hmm.
If you got good neighbors, they'll say, yes, you would. We don't mind. If not, don't upset your neighbors. Put it in a boat yard.
Yeah.
Dock it somewhere. Find a dock at a marina or rent a dock at another house where you've got parking or something like that. Do it there because you don't want to get your neighbors upset while you're doing a refit.
Because you will have vendors there for months, right? Coming every day.
Yeah, you're going to have different vendors coming and going for the course of the refit. And it could be 2 months and you're trying to fast track it. And so you could have as many as 5 or 6 vendors there a day. And it could range from them being there a week, to some vendors, if you're rebuilding your engines, they're big mechanical vans being there for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So you want to have really good neighbors or find another dock.
Okay. Sounds good. That's important to know. After a survey, how can people with a limited budget prioritize what needs to be done?
Talk to somebody that knows either one, the boat they're purchasing, or two, someone that's got a decent amount of knowledge in vessels. Find somebody you trust. If this is your very first boat, it doesn't hurt to ask the surveyor, who do you think I could go to? Does anybody you recommend? Surveyors really don't like recommending people, but they can point you in the general direction. It's it's like finding a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
because this person that you're going to choose is going to know the innermost secrets of your vessel, and so you want to have somebody that you can rely on to give you some good information, and not someone that's just going to say, tear it all out.
Mm-hmm.
If the surveyor gives you a survey report that requires and it has a significant amount of deficiencies that aren't just minor maintenance items, that are serious deficiencies, first you need to make sure you really want to buy that boat, because if they have major deficiencies, it's going to cost money to fix. And you might be better off walking away from that boat. But if you decide that's the boat you're going to have, then you need to do some interviewing to find someone that you feel good about to fix your boat, so that you don't end up with way too much money into it.
Like a doctor, right? You ask for a second opinion.
It doesn't. There's not a lot of difference between them. To getting someone you trust, you almost need to have the same faith in them as you have in your cardiologist. Let's put it that way, because you can, if you've got the wrong person working on your boat, you can feel like every day you're having a heart attack. It just gets like that.
It's an important decision.
It's that important a decision. Yeah. Because the amount of money that's involved is, it can be exorbitant.
Yes.
And
trust is very important.
Trust is everything. You've got to know the person that you've got working on your boat is looking out for your best interests. And believe it or not, it's probably the only acceptable conflict of interest, because the guy you're paying to do the job, he's in the business to make money. So you're trusting him to not take your money unnecessarily when he's in business to make money.
Yes.
So it's a conflict of interest, believe it or not. But it works if you've got somebody you can rely on.
So I relate it also like with a car. You go to a mechanic, he tells you need to repair 10 things, and then you get a second opinion, and the other mechanic says you only need to repair 5. Right? Does it happen like that with refit?
Yeah, it can, but you need to find out. Well, one guy, did he miss 5 things?
Oh.
There's your gray area.
Ah, you don't want to get a job poorly done just to save money.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So next question. What are the non-cosmetic things you would recommend when refitting? Things like air conditioning, plumbing, hydraulics, wiring.
Non-cosmetic. That could be a basket that holds 1 loaf of bread, or a basket that holds 30 loaves of bread. It's a case of what the boat will tell you what it needs. Again, I use the example of a cardiologist. If you go into a cardiologist with chest pains, he knows you need some help. If a boat comes to you that their owner's looking for a lifetime extension, and he said, look, I pushed this button and breakers blow, you've got a boat that's got some problems. And so it could be as simple as a bad switch, or it could be as complicated as wiring that's corroded and now it's touching on other wires. So each refit is different. There's no two that are the same. Each boat requires something different, even if it's made by the same manufacturer and We've got one that was the two boats are built side by side. One needs a complete refit. The other one doesn't need to be touched.
Interesting.
They're both the same age. They were launched within a couple of weeks of each other. Now, why is that?
The use, right? And the
The way they were
maintenance.
maintained.
Yeah.
Exactly right. One was maintained by a captain its entire life. The other one was neglected.
Mm.
That's the difference.
And the amount of hours that the owners put on the engines, like how frequently they are used,
Yep.
makes a difference too.
Yeah, you can, but then again, you go the other way. I have a 1999 boat that's got 800 hours on it. You'd think, wow, that's a great thing. That boat's such low hours. Well, from 1999 to that's 19 years that has only had 800 hours put on the engines. There's a good chance a lot of the oil seals are dry.
Yes.
The boat hasn't been used enough. Whereas I have another boat that's a 2006. He's got 9,000 hours on his motors. Those engines are wore out because he's used it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the the scope is as different as each owner.
Yeah, of course.
There's no they have nothing in common other than the name of the boat.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. It's like a doctor, right? You need to make studies, right? X-rays,
That's what the survey.
blood
That's what
samples.
the
and
surveyors are there for that.
Yeah.
But as far as the cosmetics and the mechanical and the electrical, it all depends on how well it's being maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, we very seldom have to go into electrical issues. We have very few of those. We have plumbing issues. Plumbing does not last forever, despite the fact that PVC does.
Mm-hmm.
The glue that's in it sometimes doesn't,
Okay.
and it just depends on how it's been treated. Valves. People think valves are forever, but they're not. Valves do wear out. They all have little seals and O-rings in them. Those fail. When that fails, that valve doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff we do run into.
Interesting. Okay, next question. Do refit companies hire subcontractors for specific projects?
Yeah, most refit companies, the term refit company is kind of an oxymoron because there really is no refit company, not quite like what we are. We we primarily service only one breed of yacht, which is Lazeras. And the only things that we sub out are mechanical engines, and that's only to one company that we use. We don't use anybody else other than one company. Hydraulics, again, because it's not practical for us to do hydraulics because there are other companies out there that are way better at it than we are. And for warranty purposes, we use one company for the commissioning area conditioning systems. Outside of that, we do everything ourselves. We have our own paint. We paint boats. We do most of our own bottoms. Sometimes we'll allow the shipyard to do the bottom because they give us a break on lay days out of the water. Propellers and things, nobody does propellers. They go to a prop shop. But other than that, we pretty much do everything ourselves. We install our own glass. We do all our own fiberglass work. We do our own interiors. We do our own woodwork.
Wow.
A lot of other companies, we do our own stonework, our own marble. Other companies, other boat repair facilities would be probably a more accurate description. They would sub a lot of that stuff out. Some might do it themselves, but few. For them, it's more profitable to sub it out to somebody else than to try and do it in-house.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it's more profitable to do it in-house. We did it. We built the boat. So we know how to do it.
And what other benefits are there to having a, how do you say it, boat repair company that does everything themselves versus a company that is hiring subcontractors for each thing?
If there's an issue, that's what the single biggest advantage of being able to do everything in house is. If you are a repair facility that has to bring in 6 or 7 subcontractors, and there's an issue with one of the subcontractors' work, the opportunity is there for the repair facility to say, "Well, I didn't do that. He did that. That's on him. You know, I just hired him." It's too easy to say I wasn't responsible for that. Um, and then there's the other possibility that, or the other likelihood that the repair facility has no idea of the quality of the work of the vendor they brought in. They've just hired somebody that was available
Okay.
to do that work.
Okay.
There's no, there's few if any companies around. I think that other than some of the major boatyards like Rossioli, for example, they have their own shipwrights, their own carpenters, but they don't do. Last I heard, they don't do stonework.
Mm.
Um, Bradford's, I think they have their own carpentry shop. But again, I don't think that. I don't believe they'll do stonework. Only those kind of facilities are capable of doing most of the work without subbing it out to vendors.
Mm.
But there's very few of them.
Okay.
Very few places that can do everything.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Interesting. So my next question: what is the average cost of a complete refit on a 100 motor yacht? Complete refit, like a life extension, right? That's the way
A
you.
life extension on a 100-foot motor yacht. Um, Again, there's so many variables to that. I mean, paintwork is one thing, engine rebuilding is another. Um, how much of the interior do you want to do? You know, are you doing all the wall panels, new fabrics, new carpet, couches? What about the galley? Are we redoing the countertops, putting in new granite, sinks, faucets? How about the seating in there? There's so much. I mean, you could say, okay, a guy brings in a 100-foot motor yacht. He says, got it. He wants everything done. We had a Lazera that came in that was an 80-footer, and the owner said that, got it. I want to rebuild, rechange everything. It seemed a little bit. I couldn't see the benefit of it because so much didn't need to be done, but he just wanted a new boat. Didn't want to sell the boat. He just wanted a new look. He loved the boat, family boat, lots of memories, didn't want the boat to go away, but he wanted the whole thing to look new inside. But on a 100-foot vessel, you could spend with the paint job and a whole interior, rebuilding the engines, new generators, you could be in $1 million.
Okay. But it's a boat that would be worth like.
Well, it depends. If it's a 100-foot Broward, you just spend $1 million on a boat that's worth $500,000.
Oh wow.
You'll never get it back.
Depending on
It depends
the
on the
year
boat.
of the boat.
If you're going to spend if you've got a 100-foot vessel and you're prepared to spend $1 million on it, I'm hoping you're going to keep the boat for a while.
Yeah.
You're spending the money on it to give it a lifetime extension for you,
Yeah.
not to give it a lifetime extension for somebody else.
Yeah.
That just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a smart move.
Yeah.
You're
If
better
someone.
off selling the boat for what you can get for it. You can keep the money in your pocket or putting it on a different boat.
And buying a newer one.
Buying a newer boat. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't make smart sense.
Yeah. So cases of people who actually go ahead and do this is because they have affection or emotional attachment to their boat.
Yeah.
So they don't want a new one. They just want.
Or they just bought the boat and they love the boat, but they don't like the inside, and they don't, and it needs paint, and they got a good price on it. They bought the boat knowing they're going to spend that money on it. I have a couple of clients like that right now. They're buying boats that they know need to have $400,000 spent on the boat, but they're okay with it because they're buying it for a decent price, and they know it's going to need this work. And they want to spend this money to make the boat personalized for themselves.
Yes.
This is how they want the boat to look for them. They're going to keep the boat 5 years, 10 years, so they'll get their money out of what they do.
Yes. Yes, I can understand that. Let's wait a little bit for the next one.
Sandy, it's a workshop. So,
I know.
You know, you can hear work going on.
I
You know.
But I'm worried, like I want to make sure that people can hear our voices clearly. But I have an application that removes the background noise, anyways. So we
On
should
my applications, I just ignore it.
yeah.
I just don't hear it anymore. It
You're
wasn't until you
used
brought it up that I realized there was Sandy going out the back.
Yeah, you're so used to.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. This is on the same line of what we're talking about. If someone is thinking of selling their yacht, would you recommend a refit or to leave it to the new owner?
If someone is selling their boat, people sell their boat for one of three reasons. They're either done with it, they want a different boat, or they're getting a divorce.
Oh,
Either way, it's not a smart move to refit the boat and then to sell it. If you're done with the boat, price it so it goes away in the condition it's in. You're done with it. Why would you want to take on a refit and all the headaches only to find out how I just spent $500,000 on a boat? Well, wait a minute. I just lost $500,000 on this boat. You know, because you're never going to get it back.
Yeah.
If you have a boat that's worth $500,000 and you put $500,000 into it, you just spent $500,000 on a boat that's only worth $500,000.
Yeah.
You're not going to get $500,000 back. If your boat's worth $2 million and the condition of the boat at that time you're going to sell it is only worth $1 million, and you can spend $500,000 on it and bring it up to the value of it being worth $2 million, that's a smart move. Because now you're going to get your money back. It's all to do with the price point of the vessel. How much are they selling for in the condition that the boat would be after you've finished your refit? We do that quite often. We have one refit. We're probably 75% complete. The value of the vessel is about $2 million. The condition the vessel was in before we started the refit, the vessel was only worth about $1 million.
Okay, so that makes
So
sense.
when we're done, the vessel will have the price point of the vessel, or the other vessels of the same size is selling around the $2 million mark. So we knew that by taking this boat, sell it now, and you get $900,000 for it, $1 million. You walk away from it, but you've just lost money on the boat. So spend the money on it, and now you've brought it up to the value of the vessels that are out there. So you can still use it for a couple of years, and it's still going to be worth that amount of money. To refit the boat just to sell it, no. If you're done with it, you're done with it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, sell it for what you need to get for the boat. A divorce, well, that's just how it goes. You got to sell it because you don't want the boat.
Yeah,
You know.
it happens.
So there's no point putting any money into refitting the boat to sell it. It just doesn't make any sense unless you've got that delta where you can get that money back.
Okay, so it depends on the value of the boat, pretty much.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Are there any recommendations you could give to someone doing a refit to their yacht for the first time?
Go see a doctor and get a very large jar of Valium.
A very large jar of Valium?
Refits there are people out there that profess to be project managers. Hire us, we'll take the headache out of your refit. Personally, I think some of these project managers put more headaches into the refits than they actually take out. Because there's a conflict of interest there. Because the guy that's the project manager is in the business to sell his services. Well, somehow he's got to justify his existence. If this refit is going smooth as anything, and the owners get going, man, I know they're missing stuff because I know this is here and they're not getting it. You've got the wrong guy running the project.
Yeah.
Your best bet for a project is, once you decide you want to do it, define the scope of work with somebody. Bring someone in that you trust, even if it's a captain you know. or work it out with your captain. If he's been with you a little while, you trust him, go through the boat and say, okay, this is the, write down what you want to do. What's bugging you on the boat? What don't you like? What, when you go to bed at night in the boat, what are you thinking about that's pissing you off? That overhead panel, I don't know, it doesn't matter how many times I push it up, it keeps falling down. Okay, it's time to do the attachments, the fabrics that hold the overhead panels up. Just decide the things that you can't live with, that you hate, or you just drive you nuts. So more important, drive your wife nuts. Make your list, define the scope of work for the refit, and then shop that scope. Detail it out, even if it's handwritten on a piece of paper. The captain, if he's a decent captain, he's been around for a few years, he'll know people that he's worked with, people that he trusts, yards that he trusts. But also make sure that you don't run into a conflict of interest with the captain.
We won't be able to hear anything. Okay.
Make sure you don't have a conflict of interest with who the captain brings aboard too. That's another issue. The captain could be, recommending people that he gets a kickback from. That's always another issue you've got to be careful of. Don't just, the captain can steer you in a direction, but don't necessarily sail in that direction. You can get an idea. Second opinions, even a third opinion. Prices vary that much between different facilities. Define the scope of work, and then determine from the prices that you get whether that's all I want to do, or do I want to go further. You may find that one company is giving you a really good price, and they're prepared to do everything, and you're like, well, okay, it's coming in under my budget, so let's see what else we can do. But it's very important, primarily, to define the scope of work that you want to do, and then shop that scope. That's the best thing to do, and be involved. Don't be, some people's businesses are so crazy that they don't have the time to have their boat on their desk. If you have a business that's like that, then you need to have somebody that you can trust to do the work. And the last thing you want is a guy that's going to be calling you 3 times a day saying, hey, what do we do about this? Because that's just going to drive you nuts. That's where the Vicodin comes in. Otherwise, you need to leave it to somebody that you trust that's going to keep the boat off your desk and only call you when they absolutely have to call you. It's very hard. It's a very hard relationship. It's very hard to do. It's always on your mind, and it's it can be a pleasurable experience if the right people are doing it. A good relationship between the owner and the person handling the refit. It can be very rewarding. You come out of it and you go, wow, look at this thing. This thing is beautiful. But otherwise, define the scope of work is the most practical place to start for a refit.
And finding the right people
to do the work. Yep.
So talking about finding the right people, Chris, would you please share with us how could people contact you if someone has questions about refits, if someone wants to hire you for a refit on their yacht? Would you like to give your phone number, your email? What's the best way to contact you?
My phone number, 754-246-4911. Go to any shipyard in town and just ask them, who are the Lazera people in town. They know who we are. We get a lot of referrals from shipyards. They actually call us and say, look, we've got a Lazera, we've got a problem. Can you help us out with it? Or, do you have any recommendations? Or a lot of it's word of mouth. A lot of Lazera owners know who we are, or captains on Lazeras know who we are. So, it's a lot of word of mouth. People find us the most unusual ways, but they find us.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I've learned so much personally, and I'm sure that all this information will be useful to yacht owners everywhere in the world, even not Lazara, but any other brand, any size. What we've talked about today is very precious.
It's my pleasure. This information is free.
Yeah.
It should be free, and it should be unbiased, and it should be what's the word I want? There shouldn't be any ulterior motive involved in the information you give somebody. Boating Boating is, I don't look at boating as just my business. It's my way of life.
Mm.
And anything that I've learned over the years, I'll gladly pass on to someone, even if it's not my business, not something that's going to make me money. Call me if you want any advice. I'll be happy to give it to you. Because it's just too many customers are lost. Too many people buy a boat and then they get bad captains, bad shipyards, bad advice. They end up hating the experience. They just, it cost them a fortune, and the experience was a total nightmare for them, and they sell their boat. This customer gone forever.
Yeah.
It's just not necessary, and you've lost somebody. So it doesn't need to happen that way.
Okay, well, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
everything, Chris.
My pleasure.